Oh, I can pause.
Yeah.
I should have just paused.
All right.
All right, Andrea, we're here talking about the sticking to the topic lesson that I observed last week. In general, what do you think worked well during that lesson?
I think the students had a lot of, did a good job on sticking to the topic. When they were discussing good ideas about the city of Madison and Fitchburg, they did a good job of coming up with other locations and geographical features of the cities.
Yeah, I thought that was really good how you sort of connected to their funds of knowledge, because they do know their city really well, and so they were able to explore the writing topic and the purpose for that lesson really deeply. I also noticed that you used the gradual release of responsibility. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you did that during the lesson?
Sure. I wanted to make sure that they had an example lesson and that I modeled it for them, and we did parts of it together, and then that they had time then to be able to do it on their own. And that way, when they did it on their own, they had strategies and different things to use that we've already done.
Good. And it looks like you had prepared a foundation for the focus lesson really well. Like the students were used to going through sort of that gradual release model. And so they were all very receptive to your modeling, and then that sort of that we do together section, the you do together section when they were brainstorming together. Is there anything that you think didn't work during the lesson?
The students had a tough time.
Good people of Leopold, Ms. Nagel here again. The food needs.
So the students, I think I need to be more explicit that this is an informational type writing, not a narrative type writing. They drew upon their own experiences and talked about them with living in Madison, but not necessarily taking that part out and using those examples as things Madison has as just information, not their own narrative with it.
Did you see that when you were looking through their writing samples?
I did.
Afterwards?
I saw that with the writing samples that I took as the evidence for if we hit the learning target or not, and I saw that in a good number of them.
So I'm wondering if, as a next step, you could maybe go through those texts or maybe make a copy of some of those paragraphs and have the students either edit them or identify the sections, just like you did in the model paragraph, that aren't relevant to the topic.
Yeah, I was thinking of taking some of those, Xerox copying it, and as a whole class going through and changing it from this narrative type to making it more informational, using the same ideas that they had.
Sure, yeah, that sounds
really good. And then
really
maybe
good.
Then they could go back and do it to their own and check.
Now, next year or in the coming years, our school will be that one-to-one technology school. How do you think you could adapt this lesson, knowing that kids next year will have access to their own laptops?
One thing is they could look up attributes of Madison, so they had more ideas to brainstorm they could with it. I think being able to type with it would be a very fat skill that they need to learn and be able to do as they grow on, and add typing up their paragraphs to it. I know there could be some of the modeling and what they do or we do together. I could maybe have part of a program or a device on there where it has some questions to ask them to make sure they get what's really going to happen, and like a checklist to look through their writing.
Oh, sure. Yeah, a checklist would be nice.
Yeah.
Even just having it taped on their desk or taped into their writing notebook that they could go through.
Yeah.
The other question I had for you was about classroom management and kind of the organization of your classroom. You gave your kids a couple of opportunities to work together, turn and talk, do that brainstorming together,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of interact and get feedback from each other, which I thought was great because it really empowers them to give feedback, and it doesn't just leave the teacher as that source of knowledge. What thought do you put into as far as how the kids are organized or who they turn and talk with?